move on to my other topic. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Ubisoft because I feel like I haven't really talked about all the Ubisoft drama that has been going on. And I think it's about time that we talk a little bit about that, okay? And you guys can contribute as we go through this. First, I would just like to say it brings a great joy to my heart to see this. It brings a great joy to my heart to see that this. That is a 76% devaluation over the last 5 years. It's a damn shame. That's a damn shame. Imagine that. They were so nice to us. Good old Ubisoft. So this is when they were at their peak. You can see that over here was like 85 euros. This was during January 2021. So I was actually looking up what the hell happened in January 2021 that Ubisoft was at its peak. And these were the things that were released within reasonable proximity of January 2021 that could explain it. This was when they got Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which was an absolute mega hit. Okay? Assassin's Creed Valhalla was an absolute mega hit for them. It sold like hotcakes, despite the fact that, in my opinion, it's nothing special. I don't think Assassin's Creed Valhalla is all that, but whatever. It is what it is. And that was also Watch Dogs Legion, which I believe Watch Dogs Legion bombed, if I'm not mistaken, because a lot of people ended up not liking Watch Dogs Legion. There was a lot of promotional material and all that stuff. When the game came out, turns out that most people didn't actually like it all that much. At least that was my understanding. But these two games, I would imagine, were what carried Ubisoft stock to this level right here. But even before this, Ubisoft was already engaging in some pretty shady practices. And I actually pulled out Notepad and I started like seeing what were the things that bothered me the most about Ubisoft. So this isn't even me like, oh, let me do some research or anything. No, I remember these things because I was excited about these games. And the game that radicalized me, as you guys all know, was Assassin's Creed Odyssey because they were giving you a Spartan. And I was like, dude, I love Spartan culture and, you know, the movie 300 and all of this shit. Let's friggin' go. Let's do the Spartan Assassin's Creed. And I started playing it and it was a piece of dog shit. It was so bad. I hated that game. I hated that game so much, dude. And one of the things that bothered me the most about that game, besides the fact that the animations were terrible, besides the fact that the difficulty balancing was also horrible, besides all of these things, what bothered me the most was the selling of XP boosters for real money. For those who don't play Ubisoft games, what this means is you can literally pay more money, like real life money, your hard-earned money, to level up faster in the game. Which, by the way, fundamentally sabotages any difficulty of the game because you're like, well, is the game being balanced around me using the XP boosters or not? And there's a lot of people saying, it wasn't balanced for the XP boosters at all. And I was like, well, what difficulty did you play on? And then they're like, well, I played on normal. It's like, okay, then shut the fuck up. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're just an idiot. Okay. But anyway, so they sold you XP boosters. They sold you coin doublers, which for those of you that don't know what a coin doubler is, because this is a term that is mostly used in mobile games. And I call them coin doublers because that's what they are. It basically means that you get additional gold from playing the game. So not only you get additional EXP, these were permanent, by the way. This is not like, oh, you get like 10% more EXP for a couple levels. No, this is a permanent, I think it was like 50% more EXP or something like that. A permanent XP booster for your character. For a single player game. And by the way, even though we complain over the fact that they put this in single player games, it doesn't make it okay for you to put it in a multiplayer game. Okay, it's just as bad. Because we all say, oh, they were selling XP boosters in the single player game. If they were selling it in a multiplayer game, that's bad too. That's terrible. That's terrible as well. But basically, you know, they sold you XP boosters. They sold you coin doublers. They sold you crafting materials. And this was in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. The Assassin's Creed Odyssey was the last Ubisoft game I ever bought. They sold you crafting materials. So you could basically go up to the store and be like, oh, let me just go ahead and buy this crafting material so that I can craft this armor real quick. But not being, limited by that, they straight up sold you gear for real money. They would just sell you gear. And this, by the way, was something that at the time, Jason Schreier came out and was like, these microtransactions are fine. This is not a problem at all. Okay? I would just like to point that out. I appreciate a lot of the work that Jason Schreier has done, but back when Odyssey came out, he was running defense for Ubisoft. Straight up. Like, I remember coming out and criticizing this, and Jason Schreier would be like, no, it's fine. It's perfectly fine. That's why there's a video of mine that says, no, these microtransactions weren't fine, Jason. But yeah, they sold you gear that affected gameplay for real money. They were the first ones, at least that I can remember, that really monetized the 3-day early access experience. I think they might have been the first ones to ever come up with this. I don't want to say that is a fact, because I know that Microsoft did it too. I just don't remember if Microsoft did it ahead of them or if they were the first ones. But I remember that it was them, and then it was Microsoft, and then a bunch of other people started doing this. But I think that Ubisoft were the first ones. But again, don't quote me on that. But even if they weren't the first ones, they were the ones that really, really popularized it. I think you're right. It was Battlefield. Might have been Battlefield then. Might have been Battlefield. But I remember that Ubisoft were the ones that started really, really pushing it. No, Blizzard were not the ones that started. They joined in on the meme afterwards. Ubisoft were the ones that did it. I don't mind XP boosters. Completely unacceptable, Antonio. Completely unacceptable. No. XP boosters are completely unacceptable in a single-player game. No, absolutely not. No, never. Never. Absolutely not in any way, shape, or form. Completely unacceptable. Also, they obviously sold you cosmetics. On top of all this bullshit, they also sold you cosmetics as well. Don't worry about that. They got you covered on the cosmetic end as well. But yeah, they were some of the first ones to really, in my opinion, push the 3-day early access shit, which they started doing with pretty much all of their games. At least, I think that they might have started that before Odyssey, but after Odyssey was pretty much every single Ubisoft game has the 3-day early access thing, right? Then, I have here just a note that says cutting up games meme. They also did this for pretty much all their games, which is back in the day, we used to have the original game and the expansion packs. Now we have the buns, and then the bacon's the pre-order bonus, and then you have lettuce DLC, tomato DLC, patty DLC, cheese DLC, and you have the mustard for Best Buy exclusive and the ketchup for GameStop exclusive. They were definitely the ones that promoted the crap out of this, and they took it to extreme lengths, okay? They took this to extreme lengths. You can see when they reached their peak hubris with Star Wars Outlaws right here. This, by the way, still on the website. This is not an image. You can go find this on the official Ubisoft store right now. Where it's like, okay, listen, we have the Poor Peasants edition, okay? For peasants. That's what we got. We got that for you right here, which brings the base game at $70, like the peasant you are, okay? That's what you get. You get the base game. They really should put here peasant edition for all the peasants out there, all right? Then you have the gold edition, which that would be the edition that comes with a little bit of lettuce, okay? The gold edition comes with, let's say it comes with lettuce and tomato, because it brings the season pass, which, by the way, you don't know what it is. Nobody knows. It's a surprise. It's a surprise, okay? For 110 bones. This is not the peasants. This is like your middle class. This is the middle class version for... except it's not really for middle class individuals, because nobody in middle class is going to pay $110 for a fucking video game. Okay? Middle-class people right now are struggling to buy eggs, let alone give $110 for a goddamn video game, okay? People can't even buy their fucking groceries in middle class right now, okay? And then you have your, your Nobleman's Edition, which comes with the base game, the Season Pass, the Rogue Infiltrator Bundle, the Sabacc Shark Bundle, and the Digital Art Book. So that would be the equivalent of you buying this with the bacon, and, I guess you can get the lettuce and the tomato and the patty and the cheese, but you can't get sauce. You can't get the sauce. Still, with the ultimate version, you still don't get the sauce. This is why, they sold this game, and then 3 days later they said, actually, guys, we fucked up. We're going to go ahead and delete your save files that you've been working on for the past 3 days of early access, and you guys can go get fucked, because we don't care. Which, let me just say, it brought me great joy that happened. I don't care. Brought me great joy. And then obviously they give you the one that they actually want to sell you on, which is you should join our thing. And also, by the way, I should point out that at the peak of their hubris, which is this, right? The peak of Ubisoft hubris, what do? They were just like, also, we're not going to release this on Steam. To which PC players went, really? That's funny. I wasn't planning on buying it anyway. And you just made this a whole lot easier for us. So, with them not releasing this on Steam and them cutting it up like this and being as anti-consumer as they possibly could, I was once again surprised over the fact that this game only sold about 1 million copies. But I'm happy about it. I expected this game to sell 10 million copies in the first week. Easy, because it's Star Wars. But it looks like even with Star Wars, eventually Star Wars fans have had enough. And gamers as a whole have had enough. And I'm surprised that we've actually gotten to the point where people are like, hey, we've had enough. We've had enough of this abuse. But yeah, that was the cutting up meme. And then another thing that they did was they did the Quartz NFTs, which I don't know if you guys remember. But Ubisoft once again led the charge on another super duper anti-consumer thing of selling you on NFTs. Because they did, yes, with Ghost Recon Breakpoint, which was a failure of a video game, as far as I can remember. And then they would sell you these NFTs, which would have like this number attached to them, which would make them unique, and you could sell them in the blockchain and all of that bullshit. And it was a bunch of dog water that nobody cared for, nobody wanted, nobody asked for. And obviously it was a complete and absolute flop, which they deserve. And I'm glad that they lost a bunch of money on this. The only thing that I regret is the fact that they didn't lose more money on it, which they should have. And this eventually brought us back to modern times, which is where they ended up pushing back Assassin's Creed Shadows, and they're actually going to not be as anti-consumer as they've been all this time, because Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to be released on February 14th, which that nobody gave Yves Guillemot a memo that month is already taken. Nobody told him the month was taken by Monster Hunter Wilds. Oh well. And they say that the game is feature complete. The learnings from Star Wars release led us to provide additional time to further polish the title. So what they're saying is we're trying to make it so that this isn't a big buggy mess like Star Wars Outlaws was. This will enable the biggest entry into franchise to fully deliver on its ambition, notably by fulfilling the promise of our dual protagonist adventure. We're departing from the traditional season pass model. All players will be able to enjoy the game at the same time, February 14th, so no 3-day early access. Okay, and those who pre-ordered the game will be granted their first expansion for free. And they will also release it on Steam day one. This is Ubisoft giga panicking, okay? This is them like, oh my god, panic mode, engaged, we need to figure this out. what the hell is going on? Why aren't players buying the slop? What is going on? And to be honest, it's like these are all very pro-consumer things that they're doing. But as far as I'm concerned, it's like too little, too late, burn in hell. I don't care. I know that probably there's going to be a lot of people that are going to forgive them and buy the game and do whatever. To me, it's like, listen, it's too little, too late. And the only reason they did this, they're not doing this for the right reason. They're not like, guys, we've changed. We've turned over a new leaf, okay? We're going to support our video game player base much better now because we regret what we've done. No, they're changing because gamers have finally hurt them on their wallet, okay? Before this change, I had no faith whatsoever that the gaming community would ever be able to positively affect a video game by simply not buying it. But they were. I was very surprised. Gives me hope for potentially a redemption story from Blizzard if people were to do the same thing. But unfortunately, the community over there is pretty much set in their ways, so it is what it is. They're still eating the slop. But let's see how long it takes for people to stop eating the slop for a lot of these companies to turn around. And we'll also see how long this big turning over a new leaf lasts. Because as far as I'm concerned, if Assassin's Creed Shadows is successful, Ubisoft's going to turn right around and milk you for all you're worth. 100%, no questions asked. No questions asked at all.